it'd be interesting to talk about the importance of like training blocks and like phases and how long do those phases need to be for like general
Yeah.
fitness.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the right off the top of my head, the biggest thing that you want to understand is everything needs to be structured and planned out, right? So whether you're writing it for yourself or you're doing it for someone or you're brand new or you've been doing it for a while, right? Like there's a reason why it's called like a workout plan or like a training program, right? So it's like a rubric for you to follow to allow you to elicit the kind of results that like you're looking for, right? And so as long the biggest thing is just setting up that structure and making sure you have an understanding of your plan. And like the thing you have to understand too with developing a plan is like plans can be changed. Like things can be changed, things can be adjusted, right? As long as they're being like monitored and you have a reason for the change and reason for the structure to kind of change or shift, right, along the gradient. So like that's gonna be like the biggest kind of thing there as far as you go with it. And like making sure that you understand that your plan and your structure is pretty basic to start, and then you can kind of like expand on it from there, right? So I think a lot of times, especially if you're like new, whether you're a new coach, you're a new athlete, or you're like a new person, is a lot of people get caught up doing too much too often too soon, right? So you
Mhm.
see all these movements, you want to reach all these goals. You're like, man, if I just like really, really, really just start filling my bucket up really, really fast, right? I'll get a full bucket, it'll be good to go. And then next thing you know, you got too much in that bucket too fast and it's overflowing. And then now you kind of have this level of anxiety. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing. I've deviated from my plan. There really isn't any structure based on what I had initially started with. So making sure that you just simplify it, right? We can go, keep it simple, stupid, the little kiss principle, and
Yeah.
then maybe even understanding the said principle, right? Specific adaptations to impose demand. So what you want to train for, you need to make sure that you are training for it and not really kind of deviating from that path. So right, if you want to get stronger, you gotta move heavy weight, right? And you gotta make sure that you're producing enough force to elicit that stimulus. There's enough weight as far as like the mass goes, to where you can do that, making sure you're staying in your appropriate protocols for all those kind of things. If you want to become more powerful, then you got to move moderate weight or like moderately heavy weight pretty fast. And then if you want to become bigger, then you got to move lightweight a lot of times, right? So you gotta make sure that just what you're programming for and what you're planning for is specific. The adaptations that you're creating are specific as well, right? And then usually that will elicit the kind of stimulus and response that you want to get when you're like writing your program. So that would kind of go with like that, right? If somebody's like new, um, and I mean, I think that kind of goes with everything too. And like the other big training mistake you see a lot of people doing, and this maybe like is a little bit newer concept. If you use like the RPE scale, I think a lot of people are really familiar with it. So like we're kind of getting on the topic now of like auto regulation, right? So RPE, for those who don't know, rating of perceived exertion, right? So like how hard does this feel? So what I would kind of tell people, when you go to the doctor and they're like, I ask you how you feel, based on the smiley face chart, right? You got the smiley face that's crying, you feel like crap, and you got the smiley face that is all smiles, you feel awesome, right? That's kind of how you look at the RPE scale. And so a lot of people, I think they get stuck that they're like, okay, well, this percentage is on my program, so like no matter what, I have to like perform that percentage there, otherwise like all is lost. Um, or like people are like, oh man, every single week I got to go up 5 pounds. It's like, well, okay, go ahead and load up a back squat and keep adding 5 pounds every single time you come in a back squat, and see how long it takes before you plateau. It's gonna be pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
um, so it's like one of those kind of things. And like the thing is too, especially when you're dealing with general population or even dealing with athletes. So we'll talk general population first, right? So in regards to auto regulation, so when that person comes in to train with you for their like one-on-one personal training session, like you don't really know how their day went, right? They could have had the easiest day of their life in their job, and if that so happens, then they're in a great mood and their facial expressions are awesome and the weight that they're moving is moving fast, and that could be like maybe like a green light day to where you can kind of like push the weight a little bit more. But say they come in and man, they just had like the toughest like work day they ever had, this huge presentation that they have been like working on, like they just presented it. Now they're just like mentally exhausted, physiologically, maybe they're not really prepared, right? So you're talking about like their state of preparedness. Maybe it's not very high. You notice, man, that weight that weight that we hit last week's moving pretty slow. I don't even know if we're going to be able to go up. It's okay to kind of like dial it back, right? So making sure that you're listening to your body, paying attention, and auto regulating your weight. And then, in the sake with athletes, like you never know what somebody's going through, right? Like, so you got like a teenage athlete, you never know that guy or girl's boyfriend or girlfriend could have just dumped them 5 minutes before they came to training, right? And now their whole adrenal system and central nervous system is just like wrecked from that high acute dose of stress that they experience. So maybe that day isn't a good day to work on like a bunch of speed work or like really, really push the weights, right? Because they're already kind of fried. Maybe that needs to become adjusted from a higher moderate intensity day to like a low intensity day. So I think understanding and utilizing the principle of auto regulation is something that a lot of people could start to understand and use more effectively, especially as they get into like coaching, programming, or even training if they're like a client or athlete. So those are like the big things. And I think the last thing that I kind of think about when thinking about mistakes is making sure we don't get caught up doing all the cool stuff all the time, right? Especially like we've talked about with like social media and everything. Like every single day you see this new exercise where this guy's got this like, man, he's got this crazy looking barbell with these bands and chains on it, and it looks so cool, and he's getting all these likes. Like, I need to try that. And like they haven't even conquered like a goblet squat yet, right? So making sure we become like really, really good at the basics and kind of shy away from the cool stuff, unless there's like an opportunity to present it, maybe to entertain the athlete, but it's done in a safe and logical way, right? So that's where I would say, as far as training mistakes, those are the kind of biggest things, even though I just rambled through all of that. But that's how my mind goes when we start talking about items like that. I got all these ideas, and they all kind of become intertwined and build off of one another.
I literally followed everything you just said, and I agree like 100%. And honestly, I could not have said that better. Like, I'm happy that you brought all those points up, and I think it's definitely very important, especially to take in consideration like how your nervous system is that day. Like, we deal with so many stressors in life, and exercise is also a stressor, and it can be a good one, and sometimes it can push you over the edge when you're already fried. So,
and I would say, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, even especially like in this day and age where it seems like every single thing that we do, every single step that we take involves some kind of like high stressor implication to it. So really, really understanding that kind of influence of those high stressors and how they're going to affect your body and your training and your preparation and all that and this and that and the other.
Like the human body is very strong, but the nervous system also can be fragile at the same time when it's in overdrive and survival mode. So you never know how close you are to like that breaking point. So it's just something for people to really take into consideration and do self-checks often, and have a morning routine and make sure you're taking off days. Don't be afraid of that.
Yep. Yeah. The gym's not going anywhere as long as you stay consistent. Just keep stacking your wins, right? If you're not feeling good, so here's a funny thing. You're not going to get better doing nothing, right? If you do nothing, you're not going to get better. So if you're having like a crappy day, and maybe that super heavy squat workout doesn't look too appetizing, like maybe go in there and work through, your squats at a lower percentage or a lower intensity. That way you're still filling your bucket up a little bit. You're still getting some work in, and maybe do more focused mobility and activation work. That way your body is kind of allowed to regenerate a little bit. It got a low stressor like induced to it, right? So as far as we're talking about like adaptation, it still creates some kind of adaptation for the body, but you're going to be better for the next day and the couple of days following that, rather than going in feeling like crap and just trying to like hammer through something that you have no business doing for that day.
And even your mind's not there either. So daily inputs, it doesn't matter if it's not intense that day, that's really fine. Give yourself things that you need to be better the next day. So like, for example, today I'm not going to go there and lift heavy at all because I can't hurt my neck. I'm going to go get on the bike and I'm going to do some movement, like some mobility stuff today. And then tomorrow I'll probably feel a lot better.
We'll revisit, right?
We'll see how tomorrow is.
See, I'm the stubborn person. I wanted to go train yesterday and my hip's been killing me, and I was like, we're going to do like power. We'll just do like hip power snatches or power snatches instead of full And we'll just make sure that we get a really good warm up going on. It's like, well, I got a really good warm up going on. My pre-workout kicked in. I was like, you know what, man, I'm feeling pretty good. And then I ended up doing my full workout and woke up this morning. And I felt like a 85-year-old man crawling out of bed. Like, then one of those where you sit on the side of the bed and both hands make it to the knees and you let out a big exhale. Like, crap, I did this to myself, didn't I? That's called stubborn.
I did something really stupid the other week, and I'm okay now. And I don't even want to say that. Like, anyways, I felt a tightness in my back, and I stretched it in a really weird way. And I stood back up, and I was like, "Oh God, like I can't stand. Like I can't bend." And what happened was, I had a facet issue.
Yeah.
And I like irritated it, and I will tell you what, that was the worst pain I've had in a long time.
Yeah, 100%.
I did this to myself because I knew I felt it throughout my whole workout, but I was like, I'm just going to keep going. So, we say these things, but we still do stuff. We still push the limits.
Yep. No, you're 100%.
You live and you might learn sometimes. I'm not really sure. Maybe one day it'll stick.
Maybe one. Yep. Correct.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation. Do you want to close with any remarks?
Yeah, that's I was like looking at time. I was like, holy smokes, we've been on here for almost an hour. But I guess
crazy.
that's what happens when you get two excited coaches hopped up on well, maybe you are, maybe you're not, hopped up on caffeine and excitement, who like to talk and they keep bouncing off of each other. No, I mean no, not any kind of like big remarks. It was cool kind of talking about my journey a little bit, being able to kind of like spiel and talk about things that intrigue and interest me. So it's been a fun time, It's like what we always tell most people is just simple is better. Keep it basic, and then stack your wins, create that consistency, and then you'll find winning opportunities if you stay consistent and you stay regular with your training and your thought processes and all those kind of items.
I love that. I feel like stacking your wins should be a hashtag. Stack your wins.
Stack them, baby. Stack them, baby.
Leveling up.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Jared. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You will be back. So
Hey, there we go.
All right.